How do we be aggressive in a Black Sea contained by the Bosphorus Strait?
The Black Sea is a Russian lake right now. Their Black Sea fleet controls it. But here's the good news, Tom. There are NATO allies around that Black Sea, including Turkey, Romania, Bulgaria. We have NATO warships in the area. The United States can flow warships that are currently stationed in the Mediterranean Sea. I think we need to look to the sea because of grain, because of agrarian products bottled up in Ukraine. At some point, the international community, I believe, is going to have to consider escorting grain tankers in and out of Odessa. Right now, they're choked off. That's going to lead to maximal impact in North Africa. We need to open the seas to Ukraine. I think that's the next big muscle movement in this war.
Are we measuring risk correctly? Let's look at Admiral Halsey in your book and the idea that he got a lot of things right and he had a most difficult 1944 in the Philippines. We're worried about failure like Admiral Halsey faced failure. Are we overemphasizing failure?
I think we are not. And let's take it to Ukraine, where you see two risk takers, right? You see Vladimir Putin, who has really rolled the dice in a very big way. And I don't think it's going to come out well for him because he has no moral grounding. On the other side of the coin, to your question, Tom, you see someone like Zelensky, who literally is risking it all, his family, his parents, his civilization, his cities. That's pretty motivating. And I think at the end of the day, with the tools the West are providing him, his risk calculus is going to be the correct one.
Okay, so Admiral, if Vladimir Putin is an example of failed leadership, why aren't they losing more quickly?
Well, they are losing very quickly as follows, Lisa. You'll recall 3 months ago, every prediction was that they were going to sweep across the country, conquer Kyiv, decapitate the Zelensky regime. None of that happened. Plan A, total failure. So now they're back to Plan B, which is a much more modest approach in the southeast of the country. And they're doing better by comparison with their failures at the beginning. But I wouldn't categorize what I'm seeing right now as a lot of success on the Russian side.
So then it brings us back to the Black Sea and your idea of possibly escorting grain ships from Odessa. How aggressive should the Western allies get in the face of dramatically weakened leadership by Vladimir Putin? Is it time to be more aggressive, or is it just to continue this sort of grinding it out kind of approach that we've been seeing for the past couple of months?
Yeah, the mistake here is to think that it's some kind of on and off switch, that either we go to war with Russia or we just sit back and let them conquer Ukraine. I think the West has correctly treated it like a rheostat, like the dimmer in your dining room, and is cranking it up, taking more risk, back to the conversation I just had with Tom, taking more risk in prudent ways. And I think in that case, when I look at the grain shipment, it's time to take a look at that.
Admiral Stavridis, what can anyone from England learn from the power of no and John Paul Jones? This is a few years ago, and Mr. Jones went over to England and took on Britain. What do we learn about the power of no?
In one word, determination. And here you have a relatively ragtag American Navy in the 1770s. And John Paul Jones inspires it by fighting from the deck of the Bonhomme Richard and defeating a British ship, the Serapis, in 1779. It's an extraordinary story in which he utters the immortal words, immortal to the Navy, and I would argue to anybody, I have not yet begun to fight, even when looking defeat in the eye.